Welcome to Memory Matters for All Ages. I started to say Memory Fitness for All Ages. Memory Matters for All Ages. I am Janelle Nichols from the Gables of Hudson Assisted Living Residence. We want to welcome you back to our program, or if you're new, we're thrilled that you found us. We always have Catherine Kilpatrick with us. She is our speaker. She is a speech-language pathologist with over 44 years of experience. She counsels and works with individuals on memory and cognition. She's a national speaker. She helps business professionals with multitasking and helping us through this busy world that we live in. One thing I always like about Kathy speak, not just one thing, but many things, but one thing that I really like is that there's always a positive focus. I like your emphasis on humor very much, but there's always a positive focus on attitude. And today, as we talk about our subject that we always talk about on this second month, the second week of the month, mild cognitive, I've lost my word.
Impairment. There you go.
Well, there you go. It reminded me of a program that you did at our other residence in Kent Ridge at Golden Pond. It was for realtors. It was a CEU for realtors. And it was trying to make realtors aware of the things that they need to realize when they're dealing with a senior, whether a senior is buying a house or selling a home, which was usually the case. What that senior was going through emotionally, plus the physical part of maybe hearing, vision, things like that. But what I really liked about that program is you emphasized that those realtors needed to remember what those seniors were going through as far as maybe moving out of a home that they had lived in 40, 50 years, where they had raised all their children, and the emotional part of that. So attitude is everything, isn't it?
Yes, attitude is so important in how we show up. And I love, if you don't know this author, you might want to look her up. Rachel Naomi Remen, R-E-M-E-N, and she wrote a book called Kitchen Table Wisdom. And it's like chicken soup for the soul for healthcare professionals and those receiving care from healthcare professionals. And she said that the organ of vision is our heart. And we've shared that philosophy for such a long time, and we've worked together for a long time. And that's how we feel. How can we help somebody to maximize their quality of life? And we're not here to fix. We're here to serve and not put ourselves one above them, but try and meet them where they are in their journey, which is key.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you about. If we have someone in our life that is at a point where they are starting to realize that something is changing, or if they think something is wrong, or if they actually have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, how can we help that person? How can we support that person?
Good question, Janelle. I strongly feel this, and I see it every day. Fear immobilizes us, and everybody's afraid of the word Alzheimer's, or not everybody, but a lot of people operate from the fear mode, and information empowers us. As we talked about this program quite some time ago, both of us were of the philosophy that we want to give practical information to help empower people, and Janelle and I are on the same page with this, so this is really neat. And sometimes people are given information, they're not ready to hear it, they don't want to hear it, they're in denial, and it's a process, it's a journey for all of us in terms of where we want to be with that. But I think the thing that I try and emphasize to families in a very subtle, loving way is if you keep doing what you always did, you keep getting what you always got. Life is full of changes, and if we can be open to wanting to learn some of that, you take what you need and you leave the rest. That's my big philosophy. So the same with these programs. You might not be interested in some of it, but you might know somebody that would be. So, I think that's the really, really important stuff with that. And again, I've got some research here that I want to refer to. One of them was a study done by a gentleman by the name of Levy, but it said that those with positive views of their own aging lived on an average of 7.2 3.6 years longer than those with negative views. And he had done several studies, and I'm aware of him from something that was reported in AARP, oh my gosh, probably 8 years ago, and it was probably referring to one of the studies that he did here. Actually, I see that was in 2002. And he said that there is a link between a person's personality and attitude toward aging and a longer life. Personality and positive thinking may also play a role in one's vigor, both physically and mentally, as they grow older, which is pretty interesting. And then there was another study at Mayo Clinic. People with a positive attitude get more physical activity, follow a healthier diet, and have lower rates of alcohol consumption and smoking. So again, on the blog, there's references to the entire study, so you can read and see. And then I'm going to preach a little bit. As a speech language pathologist, actually I have a client tomorrow that I'm going to be working with who came to one of my programs and said, my memory's not what it used to be. I use all these strategies. I don't think there's any going on, but I want to be proactive. Someone came up to me and talked yesterday and talked about someone, and he said, you know, at the facility where that person is, ask for an evaluation by a speech language pathologist. We check what the strengths are that someone may have so that we can establish a program based on their personality, their needs, their interest, and where they are in their life. There's a lot of information that you can read out there, which is fabulous, but how do you tweak it for who you are? And everyone is very individualized. I think we need to write out what we're going to need later on in life, you know, for people to just cue us if we're having one of those days. Like you couldn't think of that word at that moment.
I lost the word, sure.
And I do it all the time, and I do this for a living. But you know, sometimes we've got so many thoughts racing on, and you know, part of normal aging is not being able to think of a word always when you need it. So I think the more of those that we do, we can show people this is normal, folks.
Right. Well, I know, knowing you as well as I do, Kathy, I know you've got a couple of pet peeves, and one of them is when, like, I lost my word, I couldn't think of that word, if I had said, oops, I'm just having a senior moment. I know you hate that.
I do.
And you shared with me just recently, you were at a program, and there were two young people, and they were talking, something came up about memory, and they said, oh, it's hopeless. My memory is gone. It's shot. It's hopeless. And again, it goes back to attitude. Yeah. There's always something that can be done. There's a strategy. There's help. And I also know, I wanted to go back to the point you made, as a speech language pathologist, a lot of folks don't think about going to a speech language pathologist like yourself for help with a memory issue or a cognitive issue. Right. Right. And so I hope if we've done anything on that program that we have made people aware of what you do and the connection there with memory.
It's a huge frustration of mine because it's such a great resource.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, we have some tips today, and I'm going to read you a poem. There once was a woman who woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and noticed she only had 3 hairs on her head. Well, she said, I think I'll braid my hair today. So she did, and she had a wonderful day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw that she only had 2 hairs on her head. She said, I think I will part my hair down the middle today. So she did, and she had a grand day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that she only had 1 hair on her head. Well, she said, today I'm going to wear my hair in a ponytail. So she did, and she had a fun day. You don't have a ponytail today.
No ponytail.
Okay. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed there wasn't a single hair on her head. Yay, she exclaimed. I don't have to fix my hair today. Attitude is everything.
Attitude is everything.
Absolutely.
That's excellent.
So a couple of tips here. When you hear yourself using a less positive word, switch your word. Reword it. Think about how to say it differently, or you're starting to convey a negative thought. That can be a really helpful thing for someone to do. Create a gratitude list. Have you ever done that, Janelle?
Just in your programs, but I have found it very enlightening when you start listing the things that you are grateful for and the good things, you forget. You forget. You get so wrapped up in what you're doing, you don't realize all the wonderful things that you need to be grateful for. Yeah.
I've heard several speakers recently talking about just positivity in life, and they talk about the influence of gratitude, and there's been some research on that. I haven't gotten into that because I just so believe that if you start the day off that way, instead of thinking of all the things you have to do, the things you messed up the day before, or what's upsetting you, you don't get on the right train track for the day. So one of the activities I do for brain games or in some of my programs is to tell people to take the letters from A to Z, put them down a legal pad, and write down things that you're grateful for each letter of the alphabet. And it's kind of fun to go around when you're doing this with a group to see what that might be. Thanksgiving's coming in a couple of weeks, and I've had people do this when they have been gathered together as a family. Even one family, this was the coolest idea. They had one of those paper turkey things, and they had little something that they could stick in, and everybody's gift when they came was something that they were grateful for that year. And at Thanksgiving at dinner, everybody went around and stuck that in the turkey. And then what they did is they took it out at the after the day was over, put them in an envelope, and the person's name is on it with what they were grateful for, and labeled it with the year. And they had a year, years and years of that. It was kind of a neat thing.
We used to do that when our daughter was very young. We called it a praise jar, and we used it throughout the year, and would put the date and something that we were grateful for in that jar, and that was opened at Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving dinner. And we had forgotten so many things, and it was a great discussion time, put everybody in a great mood because we had remembered these wonderful things that had happened to us in the past year.
Another thing, do a random act of kindness anonymously is another thing for positive attitude. And enlarge your circle of positive people who uplift you. And that also means things like television shows and movies. I have some friends who know absolutely the movies I will not go to. I do not need that negative, violent energy around me. I just want to chill out and relax. So those things are really, really important and some things to think about. I will give you on the blog some really good daily emails that you can get that are just simple to read and have great inspiration. So that might be something to consider as well.
I think the information that you've given us today is basically what we know. I mean, we know how important attitude is. We know how important it is to be around positive people and we've heard the phrase, I just need an attitude adjustment some days. And you need to have someone you can call. I remember one day after filming, you asked me, you said, Janelle, what's wrong? And I shared with you, you gave me some strategies. You really helped me that day. So we know it, but we have to choose. We have to make that choice that this is what we're going to do. And if you have to renew your attitude every day, so be it. Attitude is everything. All right, Kathy, you always send us on our way with a thought, a quote, something to take with us. But before you do that, I want to remind everybody, watch at the end of the program, please. We've got our websites there. We've only got 15 minutes, but there is a wealth of information on Kathy's website. Also, a link to the blog and a way to sign up for the blog. I receive it automatically every week, and it will give you added information from what you've heard on this program today.
Great.
Kathy, close us out.
I think we're almost out of time here, so focus on the people in your life, okay? Think of their positive qualities and then express it to them. That's something that we could really do in the spirit of this month of November and Thanksgiving. And the quote, let's see if I can say this right, Khalil Gibran, your living is determined not so much by what life brings to you as by the attitude you bring to life. Not so much by what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. And thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks to everyone for watching. Now, go and make it a great day.